Hello, I'm Dorene Decibus from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and welcome to Simply Stamping Sunday. I'm sorry I'm coming on a little late. I just had some little technical issues to begin my evening with, so I appreciate you being with me while or waiting for me while I was getting those all together. I'm really happy to be able to join you this evening and share some simple stamping, with just using ink, paper, and stamps. So this month we are using the Layering Leaves stamp set, and we will be using this for the whole month of August, and the cards that I make will just be made with ink, paper, and stamps. So we're going right back to the basics. And this month we're using the 2023 to 2025 in colors, so the new in colors. So they're nice earthy tones and go really nicely with the Layering Leaves stamp set. So let me just move this aside and let's review what we did last week. Last week we made a card using just the basic white cardstock, and I did cut a quarter sheet to put on front just to have a little bit of layer and texture. I used all 5 of the in colors with this card and just did some basic stamping and made a fun greeting card. And then I also showed you how to do some two-step stamping using this set, where this image right here was just stamped once, but all of these images were stamped. The outline was stamped first, and then I stamped the inside with the Lost Lagoon ink. So this week we are making a card that looks like this, and I'm going to show you another technique as we make this card, how I did the images right here. So I'll show you that in just a minute. Let's talk about what we're going to need for supplies. So let me just put that aside. So the neutral color that we're using this month is basic, the thick basic white. So you're going to need a half a sheet, which is, in this case, I'm using it in this direction. So it is 5.5 by 8.5. So that's the first thing that you're going to need. I am going to use the Wild Wheat in color for a background, and that measures 4 5/8 by 3 3/8, and then a piece of basic white to layer on that. I'll be actually doing some stamping on that. It is 4.5 by 3 1/4, and then I'm going to need another piece of the Wild Wheat that for the greeting that measures 2 3/4 by 1/4, and then I'm going to need a piece of the Wild Wheat in Color Designer Series paper, which measures 2 by 2, and you will be able to see all of these dimensions in the comments after the video. So let's get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just fold my piece of basic white cardstock in half. This is going to be the front of my card, and I am going to take this piece of basic white and I'm just going to add a teeny bit of adhesive, not much at all, and I am going to layer this down centered on my piece of cardstock. Now it's all ready for me to do my stamping. I want to, as you saw in this, have some of the images stamp off of the card and have it meet again on the outside of that Wild Wheat, just to give it a cool effect. So let's get started. So I'm going to start, and as I think I told you last week, when I am stamping larger images, to smaller images. I always start with my larger images first. And so I am going to start with the leaves. And I am just going to be stamping this off and on the cardstock. So I'm just going to kind of go down 3 times. There we go. So we have, make sure you can see that okay. And, all right. So I think you can, all right. So that's the wild wheat with the leaves. I am going to be using the wild wheat again on my greeting, but I'm going to just continue on. I'm going to use this leaf next, and I am using the Moody Mauve ink to stamp that. Let me just move those out of the way. So again, I'm going to be stamping on and off the cardstock. There we go. I'm going to use the boho blue to stamp the tiny little leaf. It's okay if you stamp over your images. There we go, I think that's good. And then I'm going to use the copper clay to stamp the speckled background. And this is just going to fill in any spaces that I need to have filled in. And again, I'm going to be stamping on and off the cardstock so that it's on both pieces. There we go. Okay, so now if I carefully remove this piece, you're going to see I have those images that are on the outside that don't look like much, but I'm going to now add this piece using my Stampin' Seal to the wild wheat piece of cardstock. And this is just 1/8 of an inch bigger, so I want to take my time and make sure I get this on evenly. It's a little bit trickier than when you use just 1/4 of an inch. I used the 1/8 of an inch because I don't want a lot of cardstock to get in between when I match those up. So now I'm going to use the Stampin' Seal again, and I'm going to carefully line these up to the stamped image. There we go. So now you can see how you can see the stamped images just go all over the cardstock and out. So pretty cool. All right, so I have here a smaller piece, and I'm going to take my thank you very much, and I'm going to stamp it in wild wheat. I'm going to use this flower too. Just want to get the, just grab a piece of paper towel. And spray it with some cleaner. And clean this off because I don't want to get the boho blue ink onto my wheat stamp pad. So Thank you for joining me live tonight or joining me on the replay or on my YouTube channel. I appreciate all of your support. Make sure you say hello in the comments so I know where you are from. Okay, so I have my thank you so much with a little bit of the vine coming on. And I'm going to be placing that right on top of this piece of Designer Series paper. So I'm going to start by adding the Designer Series paper. It has, there's a couple of different patterns, but this is the pattern with the white dashes coming down. And on the back, it's basic white with some hearts. So what I'm going to do is just place this over this right here. And then this is going to be placed right to the edge of the card like that. And there we go. We have tonight's version of our Simply Stamping Sunday. So I made the label a little different than I did in the sample. So in the sample, I cut a little banner edge out of it, and then on this one I decided to just do it straight across so you could see the two different ways that I was handling the banners. So let me just get a close-up of that. So that is it for tonight on Simply Stamping Sunday. I hope you join me next Sunday when we're going to be again using these colors. Though we're not going to be using white as our base. We're going to be using one of the in colors as our base and doing some more stamping and the simple way with just ink, paper, and stamps. I hope you enjoyed tonight's session, and please join me Friday night for Fun Fold Friday, Sunday night for Simply Stamping Sunday, and I hope you all have a great week. Bye-bye, everyone.